Hi, I'm Rainey Seegers, the Director of Alumnae here, and over the course of this school year, we will have the great opportunity to hear from 5 of our wonderful St. Mary's alumni. It is so great when we can have them back on campus and to hear what they've done since their time at St. Mary's, and I hope not only that you'll enjoy what they have to say, but also that by hearing the speakers, you'll be encouraged about all of the many paths and opportunities that your future could hold for you. And if you hear this year one of our alums describe a job or a lifestyle or an opportunity that sounds appealing to you, and hopefully maybe something that you never even considered, they would be thrilled for you to get their email from me or to stay behind chapel and ask them some questions about who they know and how they got to where they are. And maybe one of them could even help you find your first connections or first chance in your field. So today, I am thrilled to introduce our first alum chapel speaker for this year, Meg Jemison Bartlett, the class of '72, and her son Marshall. Meg is from Memphis and went to the University of Virginia after St. Mary's, so if any of you seniors have any hopes of going to UVA, you may want to hang back and talk to Meg. The term Renaissance woman could have been coined for Meg. She has had jobs in so many different fields. She's taught classes from reading for special needs children to GED classes to college grammar classes. She was a partner and founder of a specialty foods business called Home Place Products, where she produced and sold jams, jellies, and salad dressings. She has run a bed and breakfast. She has sold real estate. She is the founder and president of a historic preservation commission. She has been her county citizen of the year. She has been the Northwest Community Foundation Woman of the Year and on the boards of Methodist Health and the Pink Palace. And now she has created a USDA processing and packing plant for pork, beef, lamb, and goats, which is the only one in her area. My word. Lord have mercy. Her son Marshall went to Dartmouth and lived in New Orleans, rehabilitating houses that were destroyed in Hurricane Katrina before he moved back to our area and to their farm. And I do not know about you, but I have almost no information about any of those things at all. So I know that we have so much to learn from Meg and Marshall today. So please help me welcome our first alum chapel speaker this year, Meg and Marshall Bartlett.
I am so glad to be here today to talk about a new brand of agriculture happening on our family farm, the Home Place, which is 1,800 acres of Mississippi Hill Country, bought in 1870 and has been farmed by my husband's family for 5 generations. I look back at my years at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, and I never realized upon graduation at age 22 what an impact Thomas Jefferson's agrarian views would have on my Como, Mississippi farming future. I'd been a city girl after all, and there was something about rural life, though, that always intrigued me. Jeffersonian democracy in 1801 was built around the notion that farmers were the Republic's most valuable citizens, shaping each ideal social values as independence, self-sufficiency, courage, moral integrity, and hospitality. Jefferson and the early agrarians believed the farming community, with its fellowship of labor and cooperation, was a model society. The farmer, quote, has a feeling of belonging to a concrete family, place, and region, and the harmony of his life checks the encroachments of a fragmented, alienated modern culture. Although in today's world this philosophy has more of a romantic, almost mythical ring to it, in retrospect, I compare these agrarian tenets to much of what defined my 13 years of a St. Mary's education. Dedicated faculty members imbued this same important interdependence in all of our St. Mary's culture: hard work and cooperation in our academic, athletic, artistic, and community service endeavors. These special teachers forged the educational tools to shape and enhance our critical thinking skills. They equipped us with a belief in our unwavering capabilities as women. Considering I graduated from St. Mary's 44 years ago, I was very anxious to talk to recent St. Mary's graduates. I was curious about how the current teaching and learning styles with advancing technology influenced what current graduates gained from their years at St. Mary's. Was it similar to what we took away from St. Mary's? My niece, Sarah Jemison, a 2011 graduate, explained to me in a recent phone conversation, quote, "St. Mary's teachers don't just push success and productivity. They also take up time at the conclusion of class to really talk with us about the equal importance of establishing and maintaining deep relationships. The teachers emphasize family and friends should never be sacrificed to the drive of success and productivity." Once again, the theme of labor, cooperation, interdependence continues to be taught in the present-day St. Mary's world. The reality of today's 21st century farmer has a different interdependence economic tune than the sweet melody of the early agrarians in 1800. On the home place, my husband originally grew traditional row crops: cotton, soybeans, wheat, and corn. When I first moved to Como 37 years ago, there were 19 farmers doing similar row crops. The thriving community of Como, with a population of 1,200, had 2 grocery stores, a pharmacy, a medical clinic, a John Deere tractor dealership, and a lumber and hardware store. But through the years, broader economic disadvantages and restrictions faced by the farmer in an increasing global agricultural industry outside his local community continually left him with the discouraging options of buying seed, fertilizer, and other necessary inputs for making a crop at soaring retail prices, and then selling his finished product at much lower wholesale prices. Plus, he always had the uncertainty of the weather to claim his harvest. Now, sadly, there is one farmer left in Como, and all the viable community businesses mentioned previously have gone. The cooperation with services of a good local economy have disappeared. With this disheartening economic reality, the voice of the present-day agrarian Wendell Berry rings loudly in my ear. You may have read some of his essays, books, or poems in English classes, economic classes, or philosophy classes. He speaks boldly in his 2010 book titled, "What Matters?", in which he confronts our current American financial structure. His essays urge the reader to consider a more sustainable republic, one in which there is tacit agreement among the people for the common good. One particular essay in this book caught my eye, titled "The Work of Local Culture." Berry writes, "A good community is a good local economy. It depends on itself for many of its essential needs, shaped from the inside, unlike many populations that depend on distant purchases for everything." This brings us forward to today to tell about the exciting things happening at the home place. My husband retired from conventional row crop farming 4 years ago, renting 600 acres to his cousin, the one remaining farmer in our area. Content to move into our retirement years, much to our surprise, in 2014, our youngest son, Marshall, enthusiastically spelled out his plans to us about coming back home and beginning a different kind of farming on the unrented portions of the home place. Marshall explained that local soil and local culture are intimately related. I was hearing Wendell Berry's urgent perspectives echoing through our son. Marshall had in mind farming projects that would eventually create wealth to benefit and sustain the surrounding communities in our area. I was hearing for the common good. Not only would he raise pigs from cradle to grave with locally grown grain, but the pigs would be raised outdoors, all naturally. He would engage with chefs and consumers, having them come out to the farm to observe the environmental and ethical principles used in raising the pigs. He also planned to expand to beef, lamb, and goats. Project number 2 was the building of a USDA-approved processing plant that would enable Marshall and his employees to, yes, slaughter and process their own products on the grounds of the farm, instead of driving every week 65 miles to another plant in another state. Not only would this processing plant benefit his business, Home Place Pastures, but also other small farms in our area would have access to a local plant to process their animals. Plus, this would be the second USDA plant in Mississippi. Now it's Marshall's turn to explain his growing business and his vision for a viable agriculture business model that hopefully people elsewhere can imitate. I wish I could see Wendell Berry in the audience today. I hope he would be smiling and happy to be seated among so many strong young women and hearing about a different approach to agriculture that truly creates a local economy. And thank you, St. Mary's community, for your interest in our agricultural endeavors. We are only an hour south off of I-55. Come sit on our front porch, tour the farm, and try some of our products. Thank you.
Adjust this slightly. Let's see, maybe I can just. There we go. Oh, hello. I'm Marshall Bartlett. I'm the son of this lovely woman over here, Meg. And just to clarify, I am not a St. Mary's alum. Thank you all for having me anyway. So I guess in the brief time I have to speak, I really want to focus on this second part of our business development, this USDA processing facility. But first, I can kind of tell you what I got into 2.5 years ago. It's funny to hear Mom mention Wendell Berry and my idealistic plan when I moved home. After 2.5 years of running the business kind of on the ground, it's very easy to lose sight of that vision when you get caught up in everything that you're doing. And I wish I could just quote Wendell Berry to furious chefs when my deliveries are late and everything would be fine, but it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. But anyway, what we started with when I moved home, as opposed to doing what my dad did, this kind of commodity-style, chemical-intensive agriculture, we raise animals on pastures. So we produce lamb, pork, and beef. We raise them on pasture with a focus on sustainability and animal welfare. So I know that's kind of a lot of buzzwords, it might be sort of confusing, but I think it's easier to look at our model kind of in the lens of the typical model. So most of the meat that you see and eat in this country is raised in a big centralized system where it's mass produced. There are a lot of advantages to that system, mainly that it's cheap and affordable for most Americans, but there's a lot of negative externalities. So that model likes to change the crop or the animal that they're producing, whether it's genetically or physically, to make it as efficient as possible. Whereas our model, we change the production system to suit the needs of the animal. So the animal is always allowed to express its natural behaviors, always outside, rotated on fresh pasture. The problem with that model is it's great, everyone's happy, everyone wants to think their food is coming from a good place, but it's very small scale. It's hard to scale that up to make it a viable business. So the plan that we had, the business model when I first moved home, despite spending the last 2.5 years just farming, was to build this facility. So y'all got to bear with me here for a second. This is sort of boring, but let's say you're a farmer and you're raising a group of lambs in Hernando, Mississippi. You're very proud of them. You think it's the highest quality meat, and you've got a restaurant in Memphis, say Jemison, that wants to buy your lamb. In order to make that transaction legally, you have to get that lamb harvested, we'll say, and processed at a facility that is inspected by a federal agent from the United States Department of Agriculture. So you can't just take Erling the lamb and he's like, oh, thank you, and then he pays for it. And, there's a lot of regulations that go into that. So unfortunately, there's a real lack of supply of these type of facilities in our region. There's almost none. There's not a single one in the state of Mississippi that does pork, beef, and lamb. There's only 2 in Tennessee, and they don't really do processing. Sometimes they just do slaughter. So this is a real struggle for small farmers. So, you've got this soaring local food movement, this demand is up here, and the supply of these facilities is down here, and that's really the bottleneck for making this happen. So, how do we build a business that's economically viable, that we're able to create a bunch of jobs, we're able to get money moving around in this community, especially in my area, Mississippi. It's very, it's struggling. It's economically not very developed. There's not a lot happening there. So this facility is kind of the linchpin. This is what we thought, okay, we can build this and we can then process our own animals. We take this whole side of the business under our control, and then we can grow. Now with growth, with this small scale sustainable model that we're talking about on our farm for what we can actually produce ourselves, we pretty quickly hit a point where we can't get any bigger without damaging our land or our soils. And I'm not going to, build a giant concrete barn and start churning out pigs, because that's not what we do. So again, you kind of face this issue, okay, how do we scale this up to make it matter? So the exciting thing about having this facility is that now, not only can we create jobs in our little area, 10 jobs, 20 jobs in Como, a population of 1,100, actually makes a really big difference. But we can also take a strict list of standards or criteria that we develop as farmers, and we go around to all these little family farms all throughout Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, and we say, look, you got 20 acres, you got 50 acres, you can take these standards and you can produce animals for us. We'll audit the farm, you got to do some paperwork. In exchange, we offer you a premium price for your animals and a guaranteed market. You're never going to raise these things and have all this money tied up in them and not have anywhere to go with it. So that way, we start to cultivate all these producers and we start to spread out the economic impact of what we're doing, which is really exciting for us. And not only economically, you start to create, basically what we do is we connect. We have forged a path to these restaurant markets. We distribute our stuff from Memphis to New Orleans every week, and it's crazy. I had 2 trucks break down yesterday, and anyway, it's a nightmare, but we're dealing with all of that. And so these little farmers don't have to. So they can bring us the animals, we take care of all the branding, the marketing, and we offer them a premium price. So we actually start to create a demand for high quality, sustainable, healthy agriculture in our region. I don't want to say a revolution because that's a strong word, but we're trying to just create this new way of approaching local food, agriculture, and we didn't invent this model, by the way. It's been done all over the place, so I'm very quick to say that. But we're trying to apply it in this region with the special relationships to our farmers and our chefs, and it's just really, really rewarding to be able to do this back where we've been farming for 5 generations. So anyway, that's kind of the broader vision. We're about 2 weeks away from opening up this facility, and I couldn't be more excited. The bank also owns my body and soul, so it's got to work. It's got to work. But everything's looking good so far. I'm just not sleeping a whole lot these days. But it's really exciting. I hope to kind of take it to a broader perspective. The field of agriculture is not just this. What I thought it was, you have to row crop farm, you have to do commodity agriculture. That's the only way you can make a living. Otherwise, you're going to be working 80 hours a week growing vegetables, and everyone loves you, but you're earning $20,000 a year, and you're not really making much of an impact. But I think that's so far from being the case, and agriculture desperately needs young, engaged, passionate, especially young women and men to get involved and try to start solving some of these access problems to healthy food. Supply, demand, there's a huge market out there and there's a huge business opportunity. It's not just Wendell Berry's idealism. We're talking about real business opportunity to make money, and that's really exciting. So I hope that in 5 to 10 years, when y'all are graduating from college and looking into things to do, you can look to Home Place Pastures as this incredibly successful, viable business, as a model for what you're going to do. Maybe not, but in any case, I hope y'all keep agriculture kind of in the forefront of your mind for something that you're at least interested in. Memphis has tons of issues with food deserts, food access, and you're surrounded by some of the richest agricultural land in the country. So there's a way to connect those two things, and that's what we're trying to do. So anyway, it's been a real pleasure talking to y'all. Thank you so much for having me, and keep in touch.